Who? Nah. No. So they thought I was so famous that everybody in the world would know me.
Okay.
The reality was I was not famous at all, and nobody knew me.
Okay.
But this is how it starts. It's just word of mouth, through the internet. We do now. Maggie's in charge of all of our social media, so she works on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and and what? Sorry, your websites. Do our website.
Welcome to another episode of Strugbits Unplugged. Today I had the opportunity of speaking with Réné Gaudette. His story is truly inspiring. What began as a life-changing snowmobiling accident led to nearly 30 years of channeling profound wisdom through the wonders. From a career in accounting to helping countless individuals on their spiritual journey. Without further ado, let's dive in. Réné, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
I would like to start with, for those new to this concept, how would you simply tell us what channeling is and what exactly are the wonders?
Okay. Well, those are two really, really broad questions, and it's going to take a lot of time to explain some things, okay?
I'm all ears.
Channeling is basically setting yourself aside and letting something come through. A lot of people, for example, like if you're sitting there, for example, and you're working, and all of a sudden, you've got that energy of, I can just, and you, without even thinking, you start writing things down, and you start doing things, and everything seems to flow, everything seems to fall into place. That's a form of channeling, okay? Most people do that in a very conscious way, because even though they would say they're mostly more unconscious because it happens automatically. Most people are conscious that they're actually doing that. They're consciously writing or something. They may not know what they're writing, but they're constantly writing. I've met a lot of people over the years who are automatic writers. You call them automatic writers because they just sit there and put their hand on top of a piece of paper and automatically write something.
Okay.
There's people who are, who are psychics, who do tarot card readers or, whatever. They kind of, in their own way, connect to something inside of themselves that's just a little bit more. And of course, there are businessmen who sit there and they have brilliant ideas and they don't know where it comes from, but they just have them. That's channeling in its own way. What I do is what I call deep trance channeling. And what that means literally is I set my consciousness completely aside. So it's like I go to sleep almost. You can see my eyes close, I take a breath, and I'm gone, and then the wonders come into my body, and then they start talking from there, okay? So what I do is I set my ego and personality aside. A lot of deep trance channelers, like Edgar Cayce, and Jane Roberts, and a number of others, they have a part of their ego involved still.
Okay.
And they're absolutely amazing channelers, and the information is amazing. But what I do is I want to give as clear an access as possible to what I called and what I wanted to channel, which was the highest source that could come through at any point in time. So I set all of myself aside, and literally the only thing that's left is a small part of my consciousness that maintains my bodily functions. So I keep breathing, which is a good thing. I like doing that.
Can you tell us about the snowmobiling accident and how it changed your life?
Well, that's exactly it. Like I was on a snowmobile. I don't know if people in Pakistan have any idea of snow. Well, you do have you have mountains, you have snow. So you should know what a snowmobile is.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Well, there I am. Okay, I'm with a bunch of guys. I was depressed. I was, and finally a friend of mine said, look, I got an old snowmobile. Do you want to buy it? And he says, you can go snowmobiling with me. And I said, oh, sure. And this was in the fall, and in the winter, I started to use snowmobiling. I had a lot of fun with it. And then in February, it was like, okay, me and a bunch of guys, we go out every year. We go off into Quebec and northern Quebec, and we go snowmobiling on the trails, because the trails there are beautiful. Lots of snow, really nice. He says, "You want to come along?" So I said, "Sure." So we went along because I had all the equipment, and went on the trails. And the first day was great, but the first day we ended up caught on the trail late at night, and it was freezing cold. And in your terms, it was like we were on snowmobiles, and it went down to about -40 at night. And with the wind chill and everything else, it was close to -100. So our machines were breaking down. Everything was not. So by the time we got back to the hotel, we were all exhausted completely. Now, this is my first experience. These guys know all this stuff. They've done it for years. So they all sleep in till 10 o'clock in the morning. We got to bed at 4 in the morning, and they get up at 10, and I'm going, okay, where are we going? Breakfast, okay. So we all hop on the snowmobiles because it's still cold. And we head off to the restaurant. And then on the way back, we're going through a field, and like we're in a line. There's 6 of us. And so we are going through the field, and the first guy crosses over, and then he stops on the other side of the highway. We cross a road. So he stops on the other side of the road and tells the guy to come on. It's clear. Because there was snowbanks everywhere, like all along the road. And the snowbanks were like 18 feet high. So you had to have somebody to know whether they could hear, if the car was coming or something. So this went on. So it was my turn, and I'm just boogieing down the road, the field, because it's got a bit of a hill. I'm boogieing down going, wow, this is great. And all of a sudden I get there at the road, and the guy goes like this, and I'm going, damn. Holy f-. And I look, and like I'm only 3 feet away from the road. There's no way I'm stopping. I'm doing 80 kilometers an hour. So it's like, oh shit, I'll just hit the gas, accelerate, and I'll get past. And this is honestly the thought that I went through. I'll get past the truck. I didn't know it was a truck. I didn't even know what it was. I just thought, because I was like focused straight ahead, I thought, okay, I'll just, hit this and get past the truck. And I looked over and I went, oh shit. And there was the truck. And it hit me. So of course, and then the rest is history. Went flying up in the air, came back down, bounced on the pavement twice, and broke everything in my left side. Literally every bone in the left side of my body I broke. So except for my arm, because my arm was up. But broke tibia, fibia, femurs. Just literally, I still have metal in my legs. My femur is just full of metal and screws. And broke 10 ribs and lost my spleen. So I died twice on the operating table. And when I came to in the hospital 3.5 weeks later, the doctor said to me, "You'll never walk again." And I looked at him and I went, "Watch me. I'll be walking in 6 months." So that's how it happened.
Okay. Again, coming to the wonders that, how has putting the wonders teaching online changed how you reach to people?
It's made it easier. I mean, in the sense, before when I first started, we had to hit every psychic fair that we could. We went to psychic fairs, and like the first 3 years, it was funny because the first year, when we first went to the first psychic fair we ever went to, my wife and I, we sat at a table. We had this 8-foot table and 2 chairs, and we sat there and looked at each other and went, "Oh, this will be great. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, but it's going to be great." So we had a little tape recorder, with hookups in there for microphone, and it was taped with electrical tape to a small little table, and we had my reclining chair that I had for reclining, so that I could do my channeling. And people would just go by, and they would keep going by, and I could think to myself, why are they not stopping? I mean, we're here. Why are they not stopping? They just keep going by. But I had made some pamphlets, and I printed them on my printer. So we had kind of little pamphlets to hand out to people. But people were not willing to talk to channelers at that point. They wanted the tarot card readers. They wanted the palm readers. They wanted the numerologists. There was even one guy that read chicken bones, and they wanted that before they even wanted to talk to the wonders. So it's like, it's whatever turns you crank. Like I said, they love distractions, right? So, but there's a few, the first year that we did it, the first psychic fair we did, we didn't make any money. we spent a fortune getting in there. We didn't make any money, lost a fortune, but we connected with a few people. And every time we did a psychic fair, we'd connect with more people. And eventually, some of the psychics started coming to us because they were curious at first. So they'd listen. And then they thought, some of them read the energy and they went, I got to go find out what that's about. So they would come and then they would never come back. Or there was one person that came back a couple of years later. We went to so many psychic fairs at first, and then we had to travel. I mean, I had a car, I had a little Hyundai Accent loaded up to the gills with all of our equipment, our stuff for the tables, because over time, we accumulated stuff and made our booth really nice, and and I even had plants in there. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, and my little Hyundai Accent, I got it actually before I met my wife, because my car had given up the ghost, and I thought, okay, I got to get something, but I can't afford to buy it, so I rented it or I leased it, and on the leases they say you have only so many miles. Well, shit. In the first year after, because it was a month before I met Maggie, not this Maggie, the other Maggie, and it's like in a year, I put more miles on than my 4-year lease would allow. So
Wow.
I had to pay a fortune to get out of that one. So, yeah, it's just, one thing led to another, which led to another. And, we did a lot of psychic fairs, and we did a lot of private sessions that way. And we had people come, and some people came back. And one guy came back 10 years later and said, I had a reading 10 years ago. And he said it was the best reading I've ever had. And it's like literally, it still applies today. But I'd like to come back and get a second reading. And I thought, wow, you waited 10 years to come back for your second reading. Okay, that's great, And we've had clients now. And so then we went out of the psychic fairs and started to do things more by telephone,
Okay.
And so we had a lot of our clients, we started advertising and doing things like that and getting more clients by phone and connecting with them that way. But we always did psychic fairs for a good 3 or 4 years, just to get a client base, And then we started people started finding us, and, we advertised, of course, with, we had our website, and, we always had a website. We always had that, clients. We had some clients that helped us design websites. We had interesting websites, all over the place. But, it's eventually people can kind of find who we are. They find us. I don't know how they find us. Sometimes they just find us by chance. I know that Maggie, my partner here, she found us because her brother found us, because they were looking for somebody like Edgar Casey, and her brother found us. And if I'm reading this, and the two of them found it, and then they came to a workshop we were holding in Barrie at the time, and she was telling me a story just the other day. She says we went up and down the street. It was in the country, right? So they're going up and down. It's reconnecting here. Okay, so it's going up and down on the street, and she's saying, "Do you know where Réné Gaudette lives? Do you know where Réné Gaudette lives?" And everybody's in the country. This is the country, and they're going, "Who? Nah." No. So they thought I was so famous that everybody in the world would know.
Everybody would know. Okay.
The reality was I was not famous at all, and nobody knew me.
Okay.
But, this is how it starts. It's just, word of mouth, through the internet. We do now, Maggie's in charge of, all of our social media. So she works on, Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and, and what, sorry? Websites, does our website designs, and so we're always, there's always something going on, and it gives us just enough. I would like it now to start doing more. I've taken a sabbatical, literally, for myself for the last 6-7 years. Just kind of said, okay, I'm not going to actively pursue people, So I figure if people want to find us, they'll find us. But, hey, the way it works right now is that we're there. Our presence is always there. So, hopefully, eventually, we'll get I know that the Wonders words are permeating the psychology of humanity because I see them everywhere. I see them being used by influencers. I see them, they're paraphrasing what's being said, and they think they're so damn ingenious for saying this. But it's like, I just look at it and go, okay, whatever, But yeah, that's just the way it is. It permeates, and that's really the reason we're here. We know that would we like more money? Would we like more followers? Absolutely. Would we like more people to consciously say, oh, I learned this from the Wonders, or, this is what they said? Yes. But the societies that we live in now, nobody wants to say that because it's too dangerous. It's to the psychology of people and so on. So that's fine. I don't care. As long as they use it, as long as they learn to use it in their lives and grow from it. And eventually humanity will change. And that's the reason we do everything we do, to change humanity.
Amazing.
I didn't come into this to channel the Wonders. I didn't start this whole thing because I could have channeled Uncle George and Aunt Millie, and I would have made a lot more money. Okay? That would have been really attractive. Okay? But no, I didn't get into this for that reason. I got into this because I wanted the clearest, highest possible source of consciousness and awareness to come through so humanity could actually grow itself. Because there's a danger that humanity will destroy itself. So I didn't get this belly, just by drinking beer. I don't drink. So, well, I do drink, but I don't drink beer. But no, this belly came out of good food.
How fear? This is a very different question, by the way. I had it written over here because I was going through your podcast and I listened to it. That how fear is being used to manipulate people all around the world.
Oh, Jesus. You don't need me to tell you that. Good Lord. Everybody is being fed the idea of fear in some way, shape, or form, that they're not sufficient, they're not good enough, that there's something missing, and that they have to change, and that the world's going to go around, and the devil's out there, and the devil's going to get you. Look at all the bloody Christians and political leaders and religious leaders that are sitting there going, do the right thing or else you'll die or you'll get it. It's like, who the fuck? Who made you king? And, who made you God? It's like, to me, it's like, it's there and people, it's almost like, since the pandemic especially, it's like people spent all their time at home thinking of how miserable they were and they wanted to complain to the whole world. So they spend all of their time criticizing and complaining about everything they can, and they think it's going to make them feel better. All it's doing is it's fueling the fear that they're not good enough. And nobody is willing to acknowledge and accept to themselves that, hey, I am good enough.
As we wrap up now, is there one piece of advice or message from the Wonders that you believe everyone listening should take to heart today?
I would say have compassion for yourself and for all of those around you. That which you are is that which I am, and that which I am is that which you are. And if you can have compassion for yourself, you will have it for others, and they will have it for you. Have some compassion. We all make mistakes. We all fuck up. We all do things the wrong way. Some days we wake up and everything's working really well. Other days we wake up and we struggle all day and we get home and the wife's at home and she's tired because she's been at home with the baby and everything else. And the baby gets slapped into your arms and you're going, what the hell am I supposed to do? I'm exhausted here. I've been having a 12 or 14 hour day. And it's like, just give yourself just enough love and compassion to say, it's okay. I can take a minute here. And now, once I'm taking my minute for myself, now I can start giving a little bit more. The wonders have a wonderful way of saying it. See yourself as a cup, and that which fills the cup is love. If you are half full, the most you will ever do is half fill another cup. If you are full, the most you can ever do is fill one other cup. So fill yourself with love that you overflow, and let the overflow fill all the cups around you.
Amazing. That's a great advice, and thank you for sharing your incredible journey and the transformative wisdom of the wonders. And I would say your story is a testament to resilience and the power of the purpose. And
That's that.
and for our listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you, be sure to explore more about the vendors, and you can find out more through the links in the description. And make sure to like, subscribe, click the bell icon, and leave a comment. And thank you very much, Réné, once again for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Like already we've had such great crowds, amazing crowds, younger and older, who've been really eager to see what we've been creating. Who are